Ashe, Ashe, and grand rising to you once again, my beautiful people, yes, my highly enriched melanin people, you the Earth's original and organic humans, aka my fellow Africans. It is I, the Mystic Philosopher, and yes, it is evident that I'm still here with you on this side of reality, and welcome back to the Mystic Peace Talking again, under 15 minutes with I, the Mystic Philosopher, and this is episode 44. Now, the main topic of these series of talks, as you already know, is stress on the mind, or more correctly, the impact that this thing called stress has on the thing that we humans call the mind. And that from I, the Mystic Philosopher's perspective, the solution to this problem or to this disease called stress can, or it may be found in and by understanding, understanding, and overstanding the want equation. Namely, want is equal to money, which is equal to stress, which is equal to unhappiness. And also by putting into practice the knowledge that can be gained from this profound equation. And the quote that I'm using and I've been using to make my points and to illustrate all my points thus far is from the Adamic race history and holy book according to the 23rd Psalm verse 1. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. Now in my last talk, or in the last episode, episode 43, I told you that words are magic and that language is a thing. I told you that when we speak, or whenever we use words, I told you that we are actually performing magic. Something else that is very important that I did not tell you then, which I will tell you now, is that when we write, that we are also performing magic. Or if you prefer, we are casting spells, aka we are spelling. When we also read, I must also mention here, I told you that words are seeds. I told you that words are seeds of life and that words are seeds of death. That words produce life and words produce death. I told you that words create and words destroy. Something else very important that I should have told you then, that I will now tell you, is that a word or words, once they're activated or once used, will immediately start to produce, or rather start the process of reproducing or recreating the abundance of itself. And that it will continue to reproduce, to produce and reproduce itself until or unless it is silenced, or unless it is forced to again go dormant. I told you that words bring things into reality. I told you that words create peace and words create war. I told you that it is words that rule and govern the mind, or our mind, and that it is the mind or our mind that govern the world. And I also told you that from the Mystic Philosopher's perspective, the popular saying, and that many motivational speakers and preachers, etc., use and often used to minimize the importance and the effectiveness of the power of the power and the lethal consequences of word. And I quote, "Sticks and stones may break my bones, but words can never harm me or hurt me." I told you that it is grossly untrue, and as I continue, you will see and no doubt agree with me. Maybe you agree with me why it is grossly untrue. I told you that it is a lie. And there is much more that I could have told you and would like to have told you or tell you then. But you both know that in the interest of time I could not have done so. But as no doubt you may realize that it cannot be done in these things I want to tell you can be done. I intend in telling you, or will to tell you, cannot be done in or under 15 minutes. So I have to do it piecemeal, piece by piece. So now that we know, or at the very least know that we have an idea of what words are, and that words are seeds, I ask that when you think of a word, that you also think of a seed. And when you think of words, that you also think of seeds. And when you say a word or when you use a word, I also ask that you please remind yourself that you are planting or that you are sowing a seed or that you are sowing seeds or that you have planted or that you have sown a seeds or some seeds. Anytime you think of the word or you think of a seed. So now that you know, understand and understand the thought that words are seeds, let us address some of the questions that I've mentioned in my past, in the last episode. Some of the questions of the word or of the seed want. Let us address some of those questions. What is want? Want is a word, or a word is, and a word, as you know, want is a word and word is a seed. I did mention that before. Therefore, the word want represents a seed and a seed represents a word. See if you can grasp that concept. I'm sure it's easy to do. Something else I should have told you then that I will tell you now is that every word represents a lethal and a metaphysical seed. Or if you prefer, every word represents both a lethal, a spiritual, and a metaphysical seed. And I ask that you please meditate on those facts. Spiritual and metaphysical and, literal rather. I said lethal. It should be literal seed. Now, every seed has its own unique characteristics. Every natural seed, if or when planted or sown, will naturally reproduce more of itself or more of its kind. No, just to back up this, my statement, or just to back up this fact, here is a quote from a website called wonderpolist.org. And I quote, "When seeds are planted, they first grow roots. Once the roots take hold, a small plant will begin to emerge and eventually break through the soil. When this happens, we say that the seed has sprouted. And the scientific name for this process is called germination." Unquote. So from this we may summarize, number one, that when words are used or when words are spoken, and as you shall no doubt shortly see, that when words are written and when we write or when we cast spells, they grow roots, also known as they take formation in the soil or in the fertile ground or in the space in which they are planted. Or to be even more precise, when words are used, spoken, or written, they take root in the mind, aka the spiritual or the metaphysical space that intercepts them and entertain them. Oh man, so much I can say about that. Let me continue. Now, once the roots of these words equal seed, remember words equal seed, take hold, meaning once they take control of the fertile ground or the fertile spiritual or metaphysical space, and in this case that is the mind in which they are sown or planted, a small word planted or small word plants, a small word plant or some small word plants will begin to emerge and eventually break through the soil, meaning you will start see manifestation, or if you prefer, you will start to see tangible evidence of the seed that you have planted as it begins to grow and prepare itself to bring forth the abundance of its kind. Now, next question. What is in a seed? And by extension, what is in a word? Well, according to one article, Wikipedia, I quote, a typical seed includes 3 basic parts. Number 1, an embryo. Number 2, a supply of nutrients for the embryo. And number 3, a seed coat. Now, there are many different kinds of seed. It continues. Some plants make a lot of seeds. Some make only a few seeds. Seeds are often hard and very small, but some are larger. Unquote. And an embryo embryo, no doubt, as most of you already know, is a thing or anything that is in its rudimentary stage that has and that shows potential for development, or that is actually in the process of development. So from just this one fact alone, we may or we can also interpret that just like every seed, every word has within it the potential for development. Or if you prefer, every word has the potential to develop into something larger than what it is in its basic or and possible in its dormant state or stage. Now, something else about words that I did not tell you and that I will tell you now is that words like seeds are containers or shells or casings. And within these containers and within these shells or casings or coats, if you will, are things that has their own individual and unique characteristics, things that are known to some of us as letters, characters, elements, signs, symbols, entities, spirits, etc., etc. That are all combined. They come together within the shell, or all coming together within the container or the casing to form the compound that will produce the effect or the effects, which are the possible explosion or implosion for which they are designed. You may even think of a word as a bullet. But more on this at another time. What kind of seeds? Let me see what here. What kind of seed is want? It is a seed of luck. It is a seed of deficiency. Or if you prefer, it is a seed that envelopes and represents the code, the programming, and the characteristics of lack and deficiency. Something else that I neglected to mention earlier, but I will do so now, is that depending on the nature and characteristics of a seed, the root of the plant can either be nutritious or it can either be poisonous or cancerous. And the same is true of a word, the roots of the word plant. It can either be cancerous, poisonous, or nutritious to the mind, or to the minds that intercepts them and entertains them. I'll get back to that at another time. And what type of fruits does it produce? It meaning want produces. What does it produce? Well, it or want produces and reproduces its own kind. It reproduces itself. And for your information, it can and it will only reproduce or replicate itself, meaning it produces and reproduces lack. It reproduces deficiency and any and all of its relatives. More on that at another time. I know those of you, my listeners, over the years that have listened to me and heard me talk and heard my talks and my lecture presentations about the curse word black. Again, the curse word black. And why we, the Earth's original and highly melaninated, highly carbon-skinned humans, we, the Earth's organic humans, aka African, should not, and I repeat, should not sensibly and consciously call ourselves black. Or any of its synonyms or euphemisms. And you have heard my lecture presentations on the redemption from the curse of the black spell, aka the B-Lack spell series that I have done and have been doing here online and elsewhere. You have heard me dealt exhaustively with the word black and B-Lack. Lack. The word lack before. And I ask that you, my listeners, please forgive me for me saying in my last talk, episode 43, those of you, my followers. I honestly meant to say those of you, my listeners, because I really don't have that much respect for followers of anything or anyone, for that matter. And especially some people who just love to follow other people or things just for follow's sake. And just because the people that they are following may sound like they know what they are talking about. And because the easiest thing for them to do whenever they are talking, the easiest thing for them to do it. Come on, get me back here. And especially for some people who just love to follow other people and things just for follow's sake, and just because the people that they are following sound like they know what they are talking about, and because the easiest thing for them to do whenever they are faced with a challenge, or whenever they are faced with some challenges that require them to think independently, to brainstorm, to reason for themselves and to themselves, to verify and to prove all things and to hold to only that which makes sense and that which is good for them, and above all, to find the solutions for stress and stresses that are enveloped in the want equation. But because the easiest thing for them to do is to follow, no, I, the Mystic Philosopher, have the highest regard and highest respect for listeners and thinkers, and especially for you, my listeners, that are independent and analytical thinkers and truth seekers, that even though from time to time we on points may vehemently disagree, because of our activated common sense, however, coupled with our honesty and honor, our integrity, we do so respectfully. Again, and thus far in today's episode, I honestly think that I have given you, or at the very least, I honestly think that I may have given some of you, if not all of you, a lot more to think about, and possibly a lot more to look forward to in my next episode, especially as it relates to the want equation. And so in the interest of time, I think I went over time. Please forgive me again. I think that I should just pause here for today and ask that you please join me when next I am talking again, possibly in episode 44, where and when I will be talking and sharing some more of my perspective on the magical, mystical, and metaphysical aspect of the word want, and the command and commandment, you shall not want, for I shall not want, you shall not want, we shall not want, and nor should we be found wanted. In the meantime and between time, please let me again remind you, my people, that yesterday's history, it too is dead and gone, no more to come back. Tomorrow is a mystery, it too may never come, but today is a gift, which is why we call it the present day. And so I hereby implore you to live for today. By live, I mean claim your natural birthright. And just in case you forget what your natural birthright is, it is your happiness. Claim your happiness, full joy today. And let's hope for tomorrow, because it too may never come, neither for you nor for I. And thanks for your time. Thanks for listening. I am the Mystic Philosopher. Ashe, 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 I say.